Hey guys, you may know that I've made a couple of build orders for Undead, like follow this build and, make the Acolyte at this supply and when you have this much money, etc. So I want to do things a little bit differently. As I've discovered, people that play in Bronze or Silver, they're not going to be executing a build order very, very cleanly. So for tonight's game, I would like to do a newbie-friendly style of playing Undead, without getting too bogged down in the details and without letting my APM get too high. So I'll just explain what I've done so far and then where we're going to be going and why I think that's a good way to play as an Undead player. Now note that we are playing against another Undead. So it's an Undead mirror matchup this game. Now, some of the top ways to play as Undead at the pro level are not quite how I would advise lower level players to play. At the top level, you'll see a lot of Death Knight, you'll see fast teching up, upgrading your Necropolis to an Halls of the Dead, and quickly getting a second hero and a third hero, but most bronze and new players won't be able to handle this very well. So I'm just going to be showing an easier style. So I'm going to be getting a Crypt Lord first, and I'm making ghouls. So far what I've done is, when I had just 3 Acolytes and a ghoul, I sent a ghoul to lumber, 3 Acolytes to gold. I made 1 new Acolyte. Then I pulled one of the 3 Acolytes off of gold and I made an altar and a crypt. And then I went home. Then, while still on 4 Acolytes, I made a ziggurat. And then I got my 5th Acolyte. When my crypt finished, I made a ghoul. And when that was all settled, I made sure that I started my shop before the altar finished. As the altar finished, we made Crypt Lord, and then we followed up with a second ziggurat, and now we just keep producing ghouls. At the high level, it is unusual to make a lot of defensive towers. Good players understand that if you overinvest in defenses at your main base, that you will lose out on the opportunity cost of fielding a large army out there on the map. You cannot bring towers with you, so you actually give up a lot of map control. And map control is the expression that we use when it comes to exerting your power on the map and being able to contest the farm on the map. So what I'm doing now is I'm making a 6th Acolyte and I'm sending it to the gold mine. I'm also creating a carrion beetle summon from a critter I found and then trying to find another critter and summoning skeletons from them. Then you try to kill the ranged creeps first when you get to the expansion location. And then you kill the rest. So we kill this, we bring our Acolyte, and we keep producing ghouls. We never stop producing ghouls. When ghouls are low, we send them back to lumber, and we take them out of our control group. If you use control groups, which I do. We do more summons, and then we send one of the beetles to his base. And then we make a gold mine. We send our hero back while leaving the rest of our units here for defense. And if you can pick this up immediately, it's even better. I actually forgot because I was explaining. But we need a sacrificial skull, which allows us to make buildings of blight. Blight is the black ground. Notice how we can't summon a ziggurat here without having the skull. So now we put the skull down, we make a ziggurat, and then we start producing more Acolytes. So we now see there's a swirl of animation around the Necropolis. This means that he is also producing something. But we saw he has 5 Acolytes. So he's producing an Acolyte as well, most likely. We're using Beetle to scout. And I'm intentionally doing very little multitasking during this. Looks like he's expanding as well. Ours is a little earlier. So now we are going to attack. This is always scary, but when you're a new player, it is good to play aggressive rather than defensive because it teaches you more. So we're just gonna make sure that we're gonna have 5 Acolytes on the expansion. This is our 4th, this is our 5th. And then we're going to make a graveyard. Because we are not pro players, a pro would attack faster, but we're not pro. So we're going to make a Nerubian tower here, upgrading the ziggurat, and 1 here as well. And the graveyard can be used for spirit towers. So now we use the A hotkey. We press A on our keyboard, and then we click anywhere behind, which means go there, but engage any enemies that you come across. This is why my ghouls are automatically attacking the tower. And then when he shows up, my units will turn around and fight him instead. So when you have money, make sure to keep producing ghouls. You can send small pockets of armies to attack specific things. Like I send these ghouls to... and keep making summons, by the way. We can also get a second ability, and then we can do an impale, like this. So now we're going to go back and we're going to tech to tier 2. While keep making ghouls. Our expansion is running. And we have this large army attacking here. And I think in order to prove that it works very comfortably, we're going to do it one more time. Especially now that you've seen what we've done once. You kind of get the gist of where we're going. And then you can get an idea of us doing it again. Paying attention to the details that you'll be looking for to reproduce. Now your timings are going to be a little slower than mine, most likely. You're not going to be, you're sometimes going to be forgetting to make a building, or you'll be in a battle and you'll forget to go back home and produce some ghouls or to produce enough acolytes. And that's okay. Making mistakes and then trying to learn is part of the game. So note, 3 acolytes on gold, ghoul on lumber. Then we're going to send one of the 3 acolytes. We make crypt, we make altar, and we don't queue up the 5th acolyte yet, which is required to fill the gold mine. Once we have 150 gold, or any time that you are capable of doing so, make the ziggurat. Then, once we have 75 gold, we make the 5th acolyte. And we're going to be going for the same thing as we did last game. Make the acolyte. So pro players will actually queue up a 6th acolyte, which they will use for scouting, and as a replacement acolyte, in case they lose one. But the build is actually a little easier to perform without doing that. And so we're just going to go and skip that. So now, once we have 130 gold, we're going to make our Tomb of Relics. And from this, we will buy Sacrificial Skull, so we can build buildings off Blight, and a Rod of Necromancy for more summons. The great thing about this build, it doesn't require as much micro as some of the more fast tech builds. Because you just have a lot of units. Anytime you have more units than an opponent, so long as you make sure that you use the attack move hotkey, which orders your units to move to a target area but attack any enemy units they see on the way, as long as you use that, your units are going to be swarming around the enemy units. And it makes it so that if you have not very good unit control, you can still win games. We also take an early gold mine, which further helps with this methodology. The more gold you have, the more you can afford to waste. You still need to follow certain guiding principles in Warcraft 3, such as trying to never stand still, except if you have a purpose for it, like you're actively defending an area. By never standing still, I mean always be doing something useful, like let's say after we finish our gold mine creep, we want to go to the next place, and then to the next, and to the next. So we buy Rod of Necromancy again, and Sacrificial Skull. Then we're going to go find a critter. We're going to summon beetles or skeletons from it. Doesn't really matter which one you do first. There's always some critters around starting locations, but you may need to try and find them. Then we're going to bring all these ghouls. We're going to make our 6th acolyte and rally it to the gold mine. We found a critter. So we're going to summon skeletons from that. There's our army. And remember, kill the healers first, then the ranged units, then melee. That's always the order to creep. Summon one more. We're going to make the Sacrificial Skull. This Blight. Okay, now it gets a little more difficult. His blade is here. But we are going to continue creeping. And anytime he tries to cancel a ziggurat, cancel it yourself. This will be harder for you, I'm not gonna lie. But we have so many units that we should be okay. Just summon another acolyte. I am body blocking here. And then we just stay here. We are regenerating a lot here. I'm not doing any fancy not too fancy surround mechanics. So remember, once you gain some breathing room, we're gonna send a beetle to his main and take it out of the group. We're expecting one ziggurat to get cancelled, so we'll just make 2 ziggurats at the same time. The goal here is to get a Newbie tower as fast as possible, which can slow him and will make it more difficult for him to harass. Now we have 2 acolytes here, which means we're gonna make 3 more. Also making sure not to make another ghoul unless we're guaranteed to get one of the ziggurats to finish, or we won't have enough food supply availability in order to fit in the extra acolytes required. He just teched to tier 2, and it looks like he's getting an upgrade, possibly spikes. He's got some grunts, Meister Yoda. Okay, we have been standing here for a while. Ziggurats are done. Let's go creep. And there's our final acolyte production, and then we are allowed to tech out. Here we buy a dust. Because he has Windwalk, we want to check before we kill a big creep. When the big creep is 30% life, we want to check if he's near. Otherwise he could steal it. So at 30% we dust. He's not here, so we can finish it. Now we go to tier 2. We'll get the Nerubian tower again in our main base to protect against acolyte harassment there. Take out hurt ghouls. Then remove them from control group and do control 1 to reform your control group without him. Okay, now because we have an expo, which is another word for expansion, we're gonna send 1 beetle to his main again and 1 to his expansion to check if he is going to be making his own expansion. Anytime you have an expansion and they don't, you need to know if they will go for one. If they're not, they're going for some attack in the first 7 to 10 minutes for sure. Remember, kill ranged creeps first, then melee, so we split our army in 2 and go for the 2 ranged creeps, looking to see if any ghouls are under threat of dying. We get level 2 beetles. Looks like he is clearing the expo. He lost the grunt. So he is clearing it. Oh my god. He left this for his shadow. We can kill it. They only have 75 health. So it's almost dead. I'm gonna make second crypt. Oh, he lost a great amount of potion. That is painful for him. Oops. Send back hurt ghouls, bring new ones, make new console groups. And then you can send beetles to his expo. If he actually has one, you can actually... if he has an expansion, you can cancel it with beetles. We're gonna stand here a bit, make spirit tower. We're gonna go for a lot of fiends. So let's start producing fiends. Okay, there it is. He has an expo. So now we're gonna get Death Knight second to provide coils on our beetle guy. We're going to create a lot of extra ziggurats. So in order to keep it simple, we're not going to the 3rd technology tier. We just want to have the capacity to go for 80 population. That's the goal. 80 population capacity. And we're going to do so while being tier 2. In other words, while we have Halls of the Dead. So we get Slaughterhouse, which provides us with extra healing. And we're just going to keep creeping and getting fiend upgrades, like attack, armor. Bring some more ghouls, make more beetles. So we know he's expanding right now, and we just want to attack somewhere in the next 3 minutes, basically. We're staying a little bit at 50 population. which means we're getting 100% of our income. The moment we go to 51, we start getting less income, but we don't want to wait too late. We don't want to wait too long. We already have lots of money. We don't need to exaggerate. So I want to say at about 800 gold, you just start stepping on the metal. And so we're doing that. So we're making 2 fiends at a time. And then when our slaughterhouse finishes, we get obsidian statue. And then we make more fiends. So we almost have 1-1 upgrades on fiends. Note how I keep creeping. Not 100% like non-stop, which I could, but I didn't want to overwhelm you guys. Sometimes I was standing still. But generally we try to keep creeping. So we keep producing fiends. Now we get the second attack upgrade. They're at 1-1 upgrades. We got 2 statues queued up soon. Now for statues, there's something important one should do. Namely, you have to turn on their autocast. So if you right click these, anything that has like these 90 degrees square corners, you have to right click it to turn on autocast. So it looks like he's attacking our Death Knight. Gonna drink healing potion. Just gonna dust so we see him. And then focus the Blade Master. Looks like I forgot the tome. Then we're gonna bring the remainder of our ghouls. Second statue, turn on autocast on both. 1 health and 1 mana. And then attack with everything we have. And if we can get extra items from his shop, all the better. Like heal scroll. Gonna take all the summons out of my control group so they can just keep going. Just focus heroes, it's easy. Gonna make him think he can kill Death Knight all the way until the end. I have invulnerability potion. He believes it. He critted. He believes it. That's pretty believable. I mean, it's okay. Can get second armor upgrade. Very reliable build. I think you guys would struggle potentially the most with when the blade is harassing. My expectation that when a bronze player is looking to expand immediately, during that, when a blade shows up, you're gonna 1, panic, 2, lose your Crypt Lord, 3, lose 3 ghouls, and 4, never dare to expand again. Then you're gonna try to eventually attack him. He's gonna have 5 towers in base, and you'll say, fuck towers, and then you're gonna, I don't know, tilt, and then you have 10 wyverns, and you'll be like standing in your base all game. That's most likely what's gonna happen. But hopefully, this taught you something. You can reproduce, you can expand with Crypt Lord, make a whole bunch of basic army, basic upgrades, and do a counterattack and win. I hope you enjoyed it. And GG.